As if the Pro name was not enough on the Galaxy Book series already, we'll now have Ultra. Yeah, meet the Galaxy Book 3 Ultra. And I've spent some time with it, and you know me, as a video content creator most of the time, is this the MacBook killer I've been waiting for on the Windows side to bring me back? Because yeah, I use Mac on a daily basis when it comes to my video content creation, and here's the Galaxy Book 3 Ultra. Especially me, as a dubbed Samsung fanboy, you're gonna switch back because of what it's bringing. Well, let's talk about it. As always, as I like to start from the outside and work my way in, let's look at the design and the build quality. And to be honest, the design is expected. It's good, right? It's using mostly a metal construction for the casing and the chassis, and it's overall built quite well. It feels solid and rigid. Now, the hinge itself is smooth. It wobbles maybe just a little bit more than I would like personally, but the screen, for how thin and also quite compact for what is this 16-inch form factor, is well built and very, very sturdy. The overall build quality is something that I really do like and appreciate. Yes, there is a bit of a give when it comes to the flex at the top of where the keyboard is, but you have to really dig in. And to me, this is kind of more of a minor gripe, but it is something I noticed, but I can forgive it because all around the overall construction is strong and sturdy. And of course, it's going for a more tapered wedge design. So when you close, it's about 16.5 millimeters and it's just under 1.8 kilograms when it comes to weight. So in fact, it is quite manageable in terms of taking it day to day altogether. The build and the design itself, yes, it's a bit understated, but it makes it easy to blend in more places and whatnot. It is a bit predictable. It doesn't really push anything forward when it comes to trying anything new from what we know from a clamshell design and what we expect from a laptop like this. So I wish maybe they tried a bit more of an extravagant look to the design, but again, they played it slightly safe. But overall, you know what? I do not mind the design and the build quality is really good. Now, when it comes to the ports arrangement, it is good on here, but I do question a few things of why they didn't add or upgrade certain ports. So let me break it down for you. On the right-hand side, you do get a micro SD card slot. You get a full-size USB-A with 3.2 speeds and a 3.5mm headphone port with mic combo capability. On the left side, you've got two Thunderbolt 4 ports, which I dig that in the shape of the USB-C, and also a full-size HDMI 2.0 port. Here lies two problems that I have with the ports, right? I appreciate USB-A, I really do. But another unpopular opinion, as much as I like it, I would sacrifice USB-A to have a full-size SD card slot. And to be quite frank, you shouldn't have to. There is more than enough space for a full-size SD card slot. And come on, this is a content creator-based laptop first. Most of the people buying this laptop or targeted to are using pro to semi-pro cameras that are using full-size SD card slot. They should have used a full-size SD card slot. And on top of that, should be UHS 2 speeds as well. And the thing is, opting for that doesn't take away anyone that has a micro SD card slot with things like drones, because to adapt micro SD to full size is so much easier. You can't do it the other way around. Again, needing an adapter or a dreaded dongle to have full size SD compatibility. That is something that makes no sense to me when it comes to the Galaxy Book 3 Ultra. And then the very thing, why do we not have a HDMI 2.1 port? This has an RTX 40 series GPU, and NVIDIA have been supporting HDMI 2.1 with the full 48 gigabits per second output with things like 4K 120Hz and 8K 60Hz since the RTX 30 series. So why do we have 2.0? It really just cripples the future compatibility. Is it a deal breaker? No, but this is an ultra laptop. We should have it lined up. And when the competition are all doing it and Samsung are not, makes no sense. The display experience though, this has probably got to be the strongest part of the Galaxy Book 3 Ultra. And if we just group the Pro series from last year, which were just using 60Hz AMOLED 1080p displays, touch or not, this is a massive improvement. Why? We are using a dynamic 2x AMOLED display with a 3K resolution. Now specifically 2880 by 1800. So already it's higher than 1440p. Great stuff. And it's 120 Hz as well, which you can set dynamically to refresh between 60 to 120 Hz. And on top of that, it's using a 16 by 10 display. aspect ratio, which I love to see. Now the peak brightness is set to be around 500 nits, and it does have like VESA display HDR 500 certified or whatever they call it. But again, this is one of the key things that you get with it being an AMOLED panel is the high contrast ratio with 1:1,000,000. This is a good look. Yes, it doesn't have touch input, but to be honest, that's for the Galaxy Book 360. What? The Book 3 Pro 360. Damn, Samsung, these names are long. So I didn't really expect it to be here, and it just makes sense for segmentation reasons, right? To separate the product line, but the display experience, right, is on point. This is the best part of the display. Now, the bezels are slim enough. There is a bit of a chin, but to be honest, I forgive it. When I'm visually looking at those inky colors and deep blacks and high contrast ratio, this display experience, definitely, I rate it, especially for the fact that it is 3K and high refresh rate. Now, the part that left me feeling some way was the speakers. Now, I'll tell you this, definitely enable Dolby Atmos to get the best sound experience, but even then, from what I've come to experience with the laptop I'm using right now, which is the 14-inch MacBook Pro, is my main content creation laptop. Yeah, Samsung, this ain't it personally for me. It just lacks any bass, any fullness. The volume is decent, but this isn't anything to write home about. And I have something to really pinpoint as to why that is later on down the line. But overall, the speakers, yeah, that left me wanting for sure. Now, you've got the webcam as well, which is 1080p, which I love to see, and what Samsung are calling studio microphones with active noise cancelling. So yeah, actually, you know what? Have a listen and watch and let me know what you think. This is the front-facing webcam, 1080p video quality at 30 frames a second with the microphone. Let me know what you think of the audio quality of the mics as well as the image quality of the webcam. Keyboard and trackpad. And this is another one where using it over the time that I've actually left feeling very mixed with my experience with the keyboard and trackpad. Now look, it's a large 16-inch laptop, and it actually kind of makes sense that it being productivity based, having a full-size keyboard with a number pad makes sense. But honestly, this is a hot take for me, an unpopular opinion. A keyboard layout without a number pad, even in a 16-inch laptop, makes much better sense. Why? The keyboard becomes more centered, given for a more natural, accurate, and responsive typing experience for you to get used to. And you potentially have space for bigger keys. And the one most important thing is you can put bigger speakers. There's more space for bigger speakers and better speakers. This is one thing I would rather have than a number pad, in my personal opinion. Again, it can't all be forgiven because the actual keyboard itself feels really good once you kind of off-center yourself, get used to the typing, the travel is really good, and it's backlit with good brightness. So it's kind of like a 1 and 2 for the keyboard experience. The trackpad though is the one that really missed it for me. And I think I've just been spoiled from what I've come from with other laptops and devices that I use. Yes, it is huge, right? It's responsive, decent tracking, and it's quite accurate in that retrospect. But again, Samsung have chosen to off-center it more to the left, meaning that most of the time when I'm actually trying to use it, I'm almost missing the initial touch because it's off-center. Even for how big it is, I can't get used to it. And it just bugs me on a visual level because it just looks off-centered. I don't know. I know most people are gonna say that yes, it favors this because of the full-size keyboard nature with number pad, but no. A centered trackpad will always make sense and you will still have enough space for your number pad. So please, Samsung, I really hope the next generation of stuff, You just move the trackpad to the center so we can enjoy it. And on top of that, the trackpad is good itself, but it's still using a clipboard mechanism rather than the haptic feedback, which haptic feedback, it just feels more modern and tight. And hey, if you're enjoying this review so far, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you're part of Team TLS, the Tech Lover Squad, so you don't miss any future videos on the channel. With that out of the way, let's continue with the review. Now for the specs and performance, and this is one area where I would say, look, manage your expectations for what this laptop is. A lot of people see the specs and they think, oh, this is gaming. No, this is not an Odyssey branded gaming laptop, right? This is content creation first. It's built within a 100-watt TGP or TDP, where we don't have a high wattage GPU with a dedicated charging solution. This charges over one of the USB-C ports with the included 100-watt power delivery charger. This hasn't got like a 150-watt, 200-watt gaming dedicated power brick to give it that kind of performance. So bear that in mind when you realize that this is more geared towards content creation. Things like video editing, photo editing, those kind of things is where the Galaxy Book 3 Ultra is at home. With that in mind though, my review unit is powered by the Intel 13th Gen 13900H with 32 gigabytes of RAM and 1 terabyte of internal storage, and the RTX 4070 with 8 gigabytes of VRAM. And I believe the GPU is limited to 65-watt TGP, which kind of makes sense because the CPU is a 45-watt H-series CPU. So altogether, that should tie in with that 100-watt TGP TDP envelope. So yeah, in that retrospect though, there are other options to consider. You still do have the i7 13700H with 16 gigabytes of RAM, RTX 4050 and 512 gigabytes of storage. Now what's interesting is, for example, in the UK, regardless of what storage, CPU or GPU that you're going for, you still only have the option for 16 gigabytes of RAM. And again, I've not opened the bottom of the laptop to see if there's 2 RAM slots for user upgradability. So just bear that in mind. If I get confirmation, I'll update in the description or in the comment section below. But yeah, that's the specs. Might change from region to region, and your region might have 32 gigs or 16 gig like most of us do. As I said, video editing and video production is my main bread and butter. And this is something I really wanted to test and see if the Galaxy Book 3 Ultra will hold up. So what I basically did is my Galaxy S23 Ultra hands-on video. If you've not checked that, go watch that video. I pretty much loaded up that 4K project. It's about 12.5 minutes long, and it's using very highly compressed H.265 HEVC files in 4K UHD with 10-bit color and 420 color sampling. That's very important to get a context of it. And we're talking about main baseline at 4K 24 frames a second and all the B-roll in 4K 60 frames a second in real time, or even slowed down with color grading and effects added to it as well. Multi-layer is about 3 to 4 layers. And what was a pleasant surprise to me is that yes, testing with 100% battery and plugged in first of all, the editing on the timeline was smooth at full resolution, no drop frames. It was buttery smooth, and I was very, very pleased with that because this is something that I just don't really experience on Windows laptops that often. So I was so happy to really see that going. Now, mind you, the drawback was that once you're on that timeline, man, especially when you're in high performance profile, which is what you want for the best performance, yeah, the fans really kick up and it's audible and you really hear it. And that becomes even louder when you're doing the final export. But what is good though, that final export with the battery 100% and plugged in is fast. Man, it exported the video in like 5 minutes and 20 seconds. So I was very impressed to see that. Now, bearing in mind though, once I unplugged it, which is something I really wanted to see, yeah, the performance still stayed the same. Now, I don't know, maybe it's just a bit of a fluke it feels, but I give it the benefit of the doubt because it was working like a charm. The only difference though, that the final export when unplugged with the battery at 100% did go as long as 9.5 minutes. So just bear that in mind. And also I lost about 20% battery, so I still recommend it that for these type of Windows laptops, high powered, you want to be plugged in to get the best performance. But you know what? This gave me hope. I might just get rid of the MacBook because of this, you know? Look, Galaxy Book 3 Ultra, you're doing what you're intended to do so far. Now, to please everyone, yes, I did touch on some gaming. Now, look, I use Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, so the two games I really tested was Gears 5 and Forza Horizon 5. And this is mainly down to the fact that in terms of graphics intensity, both of them range very well. And also they have built-in benchmarking tools for better consistency across the board, which I can really see. Now, I did not game this at native 3K resolution. We scaled it down to 1920 by 1200 because of the 16 by 10 aspect ratio nature of the display, and we used the high preset for both games. Now, when we run Gears, for example, it averaged 78 frames a second, whereas Forza Horizon 5 was around 114 frames a second. So, in my personal opinion, within the boundaries of actually using games like on the graphical intensity and range, like I've mentioned with Forza and also Gears, honestly, this is capable of dedicated gaming. But mind you, again, this was with the battery at 100% and plugged in. Why? Because once you unplug it, even with the high battery charge, something like Gears with the same settings dropped from 78 to 54. That's a huge drop. It's about 30 to 40%. So again, for the best performance, you want to be plugged in. And if you want any chance of playing games at native 3K, yeah, I think it's going to be a game like maybe Ori and the Will of the Wisp to really kind of give you that, you know, less intensive graphical look, but still artistic enough where you can play natively. But really, you want to be at 1920 by 1200. Now, the software experience is obviously based around Windows 11, which as expected. But you know what? It wouldn't be Samsung unless they pretty much sprinkled a bit of their own flavor on top of it to pretty much give their end users that Samsung experience within Windows for their Galaxy Book 3 range. And honestly, the one feature I was really excited to see and test out was multi-control, because this is a One UI 5.1 exclusive feature which allows you to use your Galaxy Book 3's Ultra's keyboard and trackpad or connected keyboard and mouse to actually control your smartphone. It's clutch. The initial setup was a bit unusual because it was something I wasn't used to, but then I realized that within settings, Samsung have their own Samsung settings. Once you go there, you sign in with the same Samsung account on the laptop as well as your smartphone. You're connected to the same Wi-Fi network, and then Bluetooth is enabled with them connected together. And then voila, once you go into the Samsung settings, you go to multi-control, you can position which part of the screen you want the phone to be, whether on the right, top, left, or bottom, and boom, you can just swipe from one screen to another. It's so seamless and smooth. Like, I was actually legit very impressed. And I was even more impressed at the fact that you can copy and paste stuff in between two separate operating systems. It's clutch, right? Like, you can go into your gallery, copy and paste the picture right into your desktop or file manager or whatever, and it just works. It just works. Like, this kind of stuff that Samsung is pulling off here really shows me that they really want you to have a proper interconnected experience with your Galaxy devices across the board, whether it be your tablet, your smartphone, or your Galaxy Book. Stuff like this, I really like. And it just makes sense to do that as well. So, you know what? I was actually fairly impressed when it came to multi-control and just the connected nature. But again, it's Windows, my favorite operating system personally, and it felt good to be back on Windows and just using it, especially when it came to content creation and UI navigation, things like multi-window, external display support being better. Windows is just the one, right? I know people give Windows a lot of hate and stuff, but for me, you don't know how bad it is until you go to the other side, until you come back and fix Windows. I appreciate you. So, you know what? This is a good look on the Galaxy Book 3 Ultra. For battery, the Galaxy Book 3 Ultra is using a 76 watt-hour battery. And like I said, it doesn't have a dedicated charging solution. It charges over the USB-C port with the included 100 watt power delivery charger. Yeah, probably the only Galaxy device you're gonna find with an included charger. So take that for wherever it is. And you know what? It charges pretty fast, pretty much in about 2 hours or slightly over, depending on the usage and the profile that's been set. And overall, it's kind of hard to really gauge and judge what the battery life is because different tasks will have different hits. When unplugged, if you're gaming or video editing, man, you're probably gonna get maybe 2 to 3 hours of usage out of this. Whereas if you're actually using other lighter task loads, like maybe watching a movie or documents or, you know, PowerPoint, those lighter tasks, you should see it stretch about 6 to 8 hours, give or take. So It's hard to definitively, but it's really down to the end user experience. But overall, for me, I found the battery life to be good with great standby time, and it was quite consistent throughout. So what's my thoughts on the Galaxy Book 3 Ultra? Is this the MacBook Pro killer I've been waiting for, especially on the Windows side, because I just love Windows that much? And almost. I can recommend it to other people, but here's a couple of things that I really want to take away. I don't really like the 16-inch form factor because I travel a lot. I wish there was a 14-inch form factor of this Ultra. I wish there was a full-size SD card slot, and I wish for the price that this is asking for, which is starting at basically £2,500 and goes up to £3,050, HDMI 2.1. Not deal breakers, but for me, the full-size SD card is one, and it should have one. It should be in a 14-inch form factor, but apart from that, if you got the money and you want to be on Windows, this has great unplugged performance, great specs within a 100-watt power delivery envelope, and it makes it convenient. And I have to say, if you have other Samsung devices that interlink with it, this is a good look. I would say for their first Ultrabook for their laptops, man, you know what? The Galaxy Book 3 Ultra does a decent to very good job. What's your thoughts on the Galaxy Book 3 Ultra? Is it a cop or not? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As for me, signing out, peace.